Hello guys, on this video I'm going to show you how to solve some of the graphing problems from Handout 7, and this is chapter 2.1 and 2.2, okay, material from those chapters. And we were talking about functions and the relationship of an x value towards a y value, or a domain towards a range, right? The relationship of a domain with a range. So we have to find out what the domain and the range is on this function, right? We have a function that's represented as a graph, right? This is my graph, and I have an x-axis, and I also have a y-axis on my graph, right? And I have some values for the x, which is 1960, 1965, 1970, and so on and so forth. And my values for y, or my ranges, right? X, this is, I'm just gonna put it here in the domain. And the y values, those are the ranges, okay? So x is always the domain. So the question says if f represents the function, so that's my graph, we have to find what f of 1995 means. Okay, so there's two ways through that the questions are going to be asked on these problems. Okay, you're going to be given the domain and you have to find the range, or you're going to be given the range and you have to find the domain. Okay, so when the question says something like f of 1995, or I don't know, f of 1 or f of 0 or f of something, right? F of, I'm not going to put f of x because that might get us confused, but I don't know, f of 6, right? When it says f of something, this number that's inside the parentheses, this is my domain. Okay, so I'm being given the domain. I have to find the correspondence in the graph in the range, or in the y-axis. Okay, if the problem says something like find f of x, or find the value for the domain when the function or the graph f of x equals 0, or when the graph f of x equals 2, or when the graph f of x equals 10, then these numbers that are given in here, those are going to be the ranges, and we're trying to find the domain. Can you see what the difference is between this form and this form, right? If the number is inside the parentheses, then that is my domain. If the x is inside of the parentheses, this is what we're trying to find, right? So this number is going to be the range, or the y value. So on this case, or in this scenario, let's take a look at the problem that we have in here. Okay, it says find f of 1995. So we have to determine if that is my domain or my range. So in this case, we know that this is going to be the domain, because that's the number inside the parentheses, right? So when my domain is 1995, and where is my domain 1995? This is 1995. So what is the value of the graph? So I'm just going to go up. Let's change to a brighter color in here. So I'm just going to go up until I meet the graph. And this is the point where I meet the graph. So when the domain is 1995, what is the range? I'm just going to go horizontally now until I meet my range, right? So that is my value. So it should be approximately 20%, right? So when my domain is 1995, the range is 20% on this graph. When my domain, I'm just gonna take a look at some other number, right? When my domain is 1975, so let's say we're trying to find f of 1975, then I have to go up the graph until I touch the graph, up the line until I touch the graph. And then what is going to be my range? Somewhere over here. So can I say that's just more or less, right? I shouldn't say equal, more or less 7.5%, because it falls right in the middle of, almost in the middle of the mark of 5 and 10, right? So that's about 7.5%. And the same you can do for any other point in the graph, right? Let's say we're trying to find f of 2000. So my domain is 2000. I'm going to go up the graph until I hit a point, and then I'm going to go horizontally until I reach what my value is. In this case, it's something in between, in there, 25 and 30, right? So I'm just going to call this 22%, somewhere in between. Okay, so this is going to be one problem. I'm going to show you the next problem also, see how we can solve this as well. Okay, let's try to find, let's use the graph to find the indicated value for the function, the same thing that we've been doing, right? On this case, we are asked to find f of -3. So the same thing, right? -3 is my domain. What is the range? We're trying to find the range. Okay, so the same. So I'm going to go to the value of -3. So this is my value of -3, right? If you walk to the left all the way to -3, and then you have to move up or down until you meet the graph, right? So in this case, I'm just gonna zoom in a little bit because it's really, really small, right? But from 3, if I walk down, that's my value for 3, I'm gonna walk down until I meet the graph. That's the point where I meet the graph. And now I'm gonna walk horizontally. So this is my value for the range, okay? So you walk horizontally towards the domain, and then you walk vertically towards the range. Of course, you have to follow up whatever the graph is, okay? So let me just do something really quick here, trying to make it a little bit more clear. Let me get rid of some marks in here that we don't really need, so it's a little bit more visual. Okay. So I'm also gonna get rid of the -3. I'm gonna put my number in here. It's my -3, okay? That is my value for -3. The same thing, I'm just gonna continue drawing the graph in here. So the same thing, right? You walk to the left from your center. You walk to the left, 1, 2, -3 units is my domain. The domain is -3. And then you have to go up or down until you meet the graph again, right? So you have to go down all the way to this point. Okay, and now I'm gonna walk back to see what the range is. So it's this number over here, whatever this number is, right? And that is right in between 0, my 0 in here, and my 1. So I want to say it's about 0.5. And since it's going, well, that is going down on the vertical line. So this number has to be negative, right? Remember that if you go up, those are the positive y's. If you go down, those are the negative y's. Over here, those are the positive x's, and over here to the left, those are the negative x's. Okay, so this is pretty much how to read the graph, right? You walk to the left or right, depending on your domain, which is in this case, that's my -3. Then you walk up or down, depending on the range, right? Up if it's positive, down if it's negative. So let me know if you have any other questions so that I can try to solve those for you.